absolutely delighted that Ajahn Barry is making it all the way from sunny Spain to freezing England tonight.
It's not much sunnier at the moment, I can assure you.
It's Christmas time and a time of gifts and treats, and it's great that Barry has come here this evening to lead the class. If you're new to the class, the way it usually goes is like this. Everybody is on mute for the moment, but that doesn't mean we don't welcome questions and discussion. We usually kind of save it up for, the end of the class, which is whenever Ajahn Barry rings the bell, but usually it's a little while after, in about an hour or so's time from there. But if in between times you've got a question, please don't hesitate to send it through in the chat box, because I've got the screen open here. Wongdu, who's the brains behind the IT for this meeting, he's keeping an eye on the chat box as well. So if you want to feed any comments at all or questions through at all, please feel free to do so. I think that's all. Oh, I tell you what, I want to begin with what I'm going to say at the end as well, because I might forget by the time we get to the end. This is the last class before the Christmas and New Year break, and I'm looking at my diary, and we resume again on Thursday, January the 12th. I'll try and repeat that at the end as well. So there we go. This is the last one before Christmas, and I can't imagine a better way of celebrating Christmas than letting Ajahn Barry lead the class tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Colin. And it's very nice to see most of you. A lot of you, I can just see names, but that's fine. I'll just do a small introductory chant paying homage to the Buddha Dhamma Sangha. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddham dhanam sangham namasami. I can see a few of you have sat with me before in this group. I don't think there's anybody from the Devon group, but it's nice to see those people back again, and also that there are a few new people, or names that I don't recognize anyway. I'll just say what I normally say, and as you well know, I always do more or less exactly the same thing, because I'm just encouraging mindfulness, awareness, consciousness, which I tend to make a distinction between what I used to think of as mindfulness, which was more akin to self-consciousness, as in I am doing this, I am doing that, I'm walking slowly. These things are all fine, but we don't need to concentrate. Concentration implies that we're trying to get something from this. There's nothing to get here. Or as the late Venerable Ayakema said, there's nobody. I've forgotten it now. What is it, Colin? Being nobody, going nowhere. Yeah. So learning to be in the present moment, not concentrating, say, whatever you can feel now, a sensation of sitting on whatever you're sitting on. If you place your attention on your seat, without focusing, you'll notice that the mind settles down, it quietens to that place prior to the thinking conditioned mind. Now, obviously, this will only last for a very short time, but the more we practice this, the more it becomes the norm. Now, this is what I consider to be mindfulness. It's, in a sense, completely at one with everything, but it's not me trying to be mindful, trying to be aware, trying to quieten the mind down. There really is no need to think in terms of trying to quieten the mind, trying to stop thinking, because the moment we are present, and this is for you to really notice, the moment we are present, just now go back to your seat. Is there thinking going on in that moment? I don't think so. I've never met anybody who says there is, unless, of course, they start projecting pictures or thoughts onto that. So getting to know that, it's quite simple actually, which is probably the difficulty of it, is because we like complication. We like to have to do something. We like to have to achieve something. We like to have to understand things. Looking at the Four Noble Truths, understanding suffering. Now that's not an intellectual understanding of suffering. It's a true realization of suffering, which, if we truly understand what suffering is, it's unlikely we'll suffer again. Because why would we? But we're so caught up in our man-made, woman-made world, mind state. That we don't understand suffering. We try and get away from it. Trying to get away from it is giving it power over us. Trying to be something different. Trying to have a quiet mind, because that's what the scriptures seem to point at. But look, when we come back to the present moment, that gives us the opportunity to really see how the mind is in that moment. It's actually not about the present moment itself. It's about, it gives us an opportunity. It opens a door for us to see, how is it when there is presence, when there is true mindfulness, true bare attention, true consciousness, our true refuge. Now this doesn't, it's not a cop-out. It's not saying no to anything at all. We can function completely from that place. We don't have to control everything. We can let go, which is another, which I think often misinterpreted phrase, let go. We cannot let go because we are the problem, in a sense. But there is a true letting go when we are present with true mindfulness. It's automatic, it happens. And it's quite easy for us to find out if we really look. And if we really are persistent and consistent in just remembering, using the body, using the breath, using the sound of silence. Just remember to come back to the whole of the body, or a part of the body, any part of the body, or the breath, or the sound of silence. Again, with the breath, it's not about following the breath. It's about just being aware of the normal, natural breathing. There are lots of practices on, say, following the breath, anapanasati. But the problem is, they're great. The problem is we tend to not see the reason that we're doing these practices. Then we perhaps become extremely good at being aware of my breath, or walking, or staying concentrated. But so what? It doesn't lead to wisdom unless we look from that place of that technique as to the results of doing that technique, which will be being present if we don't attach to the techniques, which generally we tend to do. I've made up this little story of a man who wants to get to the other side of a canyon. So he manages to get a rope over and learns to tightrope walk. And he practices and practices and becomes very good at this. And other people start to come to him for lessons on this tightrope walking. He's such an expert. He can even stand on his hands. 10 years, 20 years later, he's an absolute expert, even the world's finest tightrope walker. But the point is, he's forgot what his intention was, to get to the other side of the canyon. And this is what we tend to do. We get lost in the technique. Nothing wrong with the techniques. They all will lead somewhere if we look at the results of practicing that technique and not attaching, which is what we normally do. We attach to everything or try and get rid of everything that we don't like. So I normally do a sweeping guided meditation now. And I'll suggest going through the body bit by bit. Again, it's not about the particular part of the body. And I'm not saying stay with one place all the time. I'm saying move your attention, but notice when I suggest you become aware of the top of your head. Maybe you can't become aware of the top of the head. Maybe when I suggest becoming aware of your eyebrows. Well, I cannot become aware of my eyebrows, but I can become aware of how my mind, my heart mind, the heart of the mind, stops in that place of open, spacious awareness, which is not dumb or stupid. It's not dark. It's alive. It's open. So we'll sit for, I'll do 2 25 minute sessions, a little break in between. And I really do welcome any questions or queries or anything anybody has to say at the end of these sittings, because sometimes, what I'm saying is maybe a little bit different. And, it's nice to have clarity on these things. Okay, sitting in a posture whether it's in a chair or on a cushion or whatever. If you can, sit fairly straight. But remember that meditation is in the four postures, and that's all postures: standing, walking, sitting, and lying down, and everything in between. So there really is no reason not to be meditating, being aware in any situation or any time of the day, if we remember. So that posture that's going to, perhaps you're sitting in a chair, become very aware of the chair, become very aware of your seat on a cushion. So when the mind goes off, when it starts to wander, which is what the mind does, it's not worth worrying about because the mind is divisive by nature. So all we need to do is to notice when it wanders, and that act of noticing, reestablish is that awareness. Never scold yourself, never complain, never say, oh, that was a good meditation, that was a bad meditation. They just the way they are. And the less we do comment like that, the less we feed our views and opinions and desires. So how would you sit? I sit with my eyes just slitted open? I mean, I would recommend that, but if you're used to sitting with them closed or wide open, that's fine. I would say experiment. Always experiment. Don't necessarily stick to one thing. What, so to speak, what works this evening might not work tomorrow evening, as in being the eyes being open or closed or whatever. And just be aware of the difference now we've settled down. We've got to this meeting, we've done the necessary things. We don't need to do anything more except to remember, to be aware in this present moment. So becoming aware from the tips of the toes to the top of the head, the whole of the body, not projecting pictures onto it or interfering or commenting on particular feelings. Just, it's like this. So now becoming aware of the top of the head. As I say, you may not be able to be aware of particular parts, but that's not here or there. What is important is you notice how the mind, how the heart mind, the heart of the mind, quietens down in that moment. Letting that awareness spread down the back of the head. And the sides of the head. Now becoming aware of the ears. And the earlobes. Now letting that awareness spread down from the head down the forehead and the eyebrows. Not projecting pictures or thoughts. Just open, spacious awareness. Now becoming aware of the eyes. The eyelashes. And the nose. And the nostrils. Now becoming aware of the mouth, the lips inside the mouth and the tongue. And the chin. And the jaw. And the cheeks of the face. Now bringing into your awareness, your consciousness, your bare attention, the whole of the face, the head, the whole of the head and the ears. And just notice, and this is the most important thing, how is the mind, how is the heart mind in that very moment? So now becoming aware of the neck, right around the neck and the throat. Now becoming aware of the shoulders. From the shoulders down to the elbows. The back of the arms, the front of the arms, and the sides of the arms. Just open awareness. And from the elbows down to the wrists. Becoming aware of the whole of the arms. Letting that awareness spread down from the wrists into the hands. The palms of the hands, the thumbs. The fingers, the joints of the fingers. And the backs of the hands. The knuckles. The fingers, the joints of the fingers. The tips of the fingers. And the fingernails. What happens to your mind when you place your attention on the fingernails without projecting thoughts or pictures onto them? Now becoming aware of the back, from the shoulders down the back through the shoulder blades, down the sides of the trunk, down the spine, the arch of the back, the small of the back, the coccyx, the buttocks, and the hips. Now bringing into your awareness the whole of your back, the shoulders, the hands and the arms, the neck, the head and the face. Now becoming aware of the chest from the shoulders down through the rib cage, the lungs, the sides of the trunk, the diaphragm, the stomach, the belly, the navel, intestines, under the groin, and the hips. Now bringing into your awareness the whole of the trunk of the body, the front of the body, the back of the body, the hands, the arms, the shoulders, the neck, the face and the head. There's nothing to do here other than just be awareness. Now becoming aware of the legs from the hips down to the knees. From the knees down to the ankles. And the feet, the soles of the feet, the heels of the feet, the balls of the feet, the arches of the feet, the toes, the joints of the toes. And the tops of the feet, the sides of the feet, the toes, the joints of the toes, the tips of the toes, and the toenails. Now bringing the whole of your body into this awareness, this open, spacious awareness, not concentrating, just being openly aware. Not necessarily being aware of something, but just open awareness. And becoming aware of the breath. Just the normal, natural breathing. Just that normal, natural breathing. Not concentrating on it, just being aware of it. Or listening to that sound of silence. Not going out to sounds, external sounds, but listening to that natural sound that happens within the silence. And notice when we are aware of that, how is the mind? How is the heart mind? I'll ring the bell in a very short time, but please don't think in terms of meditation coming to an end. We're just going to be moving, perhaps. There's no reason we cannot be aware of that. So as I say, there is no, the four postures: standing, walking, sitting, and lying down. So we don't have to grasp our sensations. We can just be aware of them, openly aware, not trying to get rid of feelings, not trying to encourage experience, but just being. So there really is never not an opportunity to be present. Because it's important, as far as I can see anyway, that that we don't just make these classes, these group meetings, a special thing, but something that we can actually take this outside when we go out or do whatever we have to do, or go to work tomorrow, or do whatever we have to do out on the streets or in the office or wherever. We can still remember to come back to the present moment and notice. So on that, we'll sit for another, say, 20 minutes or so. I'll give the occasional reminder, just to, because our minds tend to carry us away. This is, it's what it does. Do never think of it as a problem. The more we think of it as a problem, the more power it has over us, because we're feeding it. What they say in the scriptures, giving it nutriments. So again, sitting in a posture that's helpful to you to maintain that awareness, or to remind you when we leave the present moment and go off into some dream state of being out of the cold climate and in Hawaii, which is probably very nice in reality, but let's try and make the most of this meeting and practice our mindfulness. So experiment, maybe sweeping through the body, maybe finding one particular part that is easier to anchor the mind to, or being with the breath, or the sound of silence. Move your attention if needs be, because the mind doesn't like to be tied down. It just rebels. But getting to know that quiet place prior to our obsessive thinking mind. So making a small adhitthana, which means a little determination not to become something, to be good at something, but just to remember to come back to the present moment and notice. So just remember to come back to the body or the breath or the sounds, the sound of silence. And notice that place of open, spacious awareness. Moving your attention around. Maybe it's the hands that anchor the mind most easily. Maybe it's the belly or the back, the small of the back. Experiment. See what works, so to speak, best for you. Just returning to the present moment when you catch the mind. Just being aware. As time goes on, the mind can start to get a bit more lively. Just put that little bit more effort, the effort not to become or get away from, but just to be aware, just to remember to come back. So I'll ring the bell in a couple of minutes, as I said before. Don't think in terms of the meditation coming to an end. There is always an opportunity to be aware, to be mindful. So just noticing the sensations of the body, or the breath, or the sound of silence. This noticing can be now in the movement. It's very important actually, I think. I mean, we come to these types of meetings and retreats, etc. They're for building a foundation. But I think the real practice is done in our ordinary everyday life, having that foundation to build on, so to speak. Whether we're at work, whether we're swimming, whether we're watching the TV, reading a book, there really is no reason that we cannot be aware. And this being coming from that place of awareness, we start to have insight to the teachings, to the Buddhist teachings. They're not just more views and opinions, because we tend to like to exchange. We come from maybe being Christians or whatever to being a Buddhist. But oftentimes it can be just an exchange of belief values, not necessarily awakening to the way it is. See, when we get to, from this place of awareness, we get to understand the teachings, they make complete sense because they're outcomes of, they're not necessarily things we have to strive to attain the Four Noble Truths, the Eightfold Path, anicca, dukkha, anatta. We don't attain these things, we become them. And then, oh yeah, that's what that's saying. We don't need to attain. Once there is a true letting go, there's a healing of our minds that have these ruts in them, like tram lines, where our thought patterns go down these certain lines all the time. These our obsessions, our whatever. We all have something. or when we're, somebody steps on our toes, so to speak, off we go again. We're not looking for ideal conditions because we always take ourselves into any condition, no matter how ideal it might seem, living on a tropical island, ordaining as a monk or a nun. We still take ourselves into those situations. Hopefully we start to see through them, but we have that opportunity right now. And I mean right now, to be aware, to be open to the way it is, open to the teachings, without this bias, wanting to become awakened even, wanting to become enlightened. But becoming it, being it. Does anybody have any questions at all? Comments? Criticisms? Whatever? Al, you have something?
Yeah, could I ask a question? Actually, two questions. One of the things I found really helpful in that sitting was that when I'm practicing, I find that at some point I sort of switch off and go into a really comfortable, cozy position, and it's very comfortable and sort of it's like a hibernation. But I actually found listening to this evening that I managed to keep what you called that open awareness. And I found that really quite insightful, to be honest.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. We do tend to look for comfortable positions. We tend to run away in a subtle sort of way. We tend to look for a corner somewhere. We close our eyes, and this. I say this quite regularly. It's a bit strong, but there's a Chinese, one of the main Chinese masters, Hui Neng, said he about quiet sitting, like quiet nothingness. He likens it to sitting in a dark cave filled with the slime of our own conceited views and opinions. So yeah, I mean, it's being open. This is not about rejecting or repressing or suppressing anything. It's just being that open awareness. And by being that open awareness, we're not giving power to our negativity, to our views and opinions. We're unlikely to break any of the precepts, because why would you? From that place of awareness, because you don't need to fulfill, you don't need to steal or sexual misconduct or using people or killing, because that's boosting the self. So yeah, it's not about running away, as you're saying. It's not about finding that cozy corner, that perfect lifestyle, because it doesn't work. So great.
Thank you.
Have you got anything to add there, Colin, at all?
On anything in particular?
Well, I mean, just maybe to get a little bit of a conversation going. It often could, like Al's question, it brings up another slightly different side of things, which I find could be quite helpful for people.
Well, yeah. The way I look at it, I mean, it's entirely as you say. It's very nice if we can, find somewhere, maybe on our own or in a group like this, where we can conditions are pretty good. Conditions are pretty good. But then I always enjoyed, coming to the Buddhist Society and doing the class there, because it wasn't ideal, actually. It was around the back of Victoria Station, and 6:30 of an evening, there's a lot of commuter traffic going around, and taxis, and the odd ambulance or whatever. And if that wasn't enough, a plane flying into Heathrow over the top. So it was like, in a way, there's plenty to complain about, but I mean, also you get a great opportunity to just watch the complaining mind and learning to just let it go, frankly. And I mean, I really do think that practicing at the Buddhist Society is a great place, because all the conditions are there. You've got Buddha, Rupas, and all the rest of it. It's really nice. But it's certainly not a sort of a cave in the Himalayas. It's far from it. And I sort of feel if you can practice under those conditions, you can walk out the door and get on the tube and still be reasonably together, reasonably mindful. I mean, to me, this what we're doing this evening is like it's training. It's here we are. We're sort of mental athletes training for the big match. And the big match is, what happens at 8 o'clock or whatever when the class is over.
No, you're right. I think, places like the Buddhist Society, because, you're sitting there and you've got police sirens, police cars going past, trucks going past. But that really is valuable, because we sometimes find what we think is an ideal situation, and it can be quite peaceful. But then, as you know, I helped manage the retreat center at Amaravati for a couple of years before becoming a bhikkhu. What you normally find is people, they have a great retreat. It's all very quiet. It's all organized. But then you meet them after they go home. Oh, I can't practice anymore. These children, the wife or the partner is this and that, and I can't practice. What was all that retreat about? If we haven't learned to take that into our ordinary life, we can't live a super special ideal life. It just doesn't exist. I made up this little simile of there's a pianist living in a block of flats, and he used to practice away, but above him there's a family of 6 above him, and kids running around, and underneath there's a couple always rowing, and anyway, so he gets discovered and he gets taken to a conservatory. He gets the opportunity. He gets a room to himself. It's quiet. He's got a Steinway piano. Everything is wonderful. But after a week or so, he says, "Well, I'm not sure about this stall. And the wallpaper is horrible. And the guy who runs it, we take ourselves into any situation. And unless we can really open up and see that right now, instead of running away from it, I'm not talking psychotherapy here. I'm just talking open awareness. And then there is a natural healing. There's a natural healing of this separation that we think we're an individual, separate entity. But to become part of everything, to know that awareness, to know that consciousness, just to be. And much to our surprise, we don't need to control the world. We somehow think we need to control everything, to make it better or get away from what we don't like. But letting go of that. And we don't need to. It's perfect as it is. And our reaction, we don't react, we respond to life. So things start to change, or our view of life starts to change in a natural, human way. So hopefully you've got an idea of my encouragement. As Colin often says, I'm known for not being like to be called a teacher, because I don't teach. I suggest try this. I suggest it quite strongly because that's what I know. And if you know the way to somewhere and it's not that complicated, you tell somebody the way to somewhere. And there's no, sorry.
Oh, there's a chat has come up from Fran. Does the Thursday evening group still meet at the Buddhist Society as well? Well, the answer to that is at this moment, it doesn't. It doesn't. But, you know, we always have, there's always a possibility. Well, I say that. Maybe Richard Bober, who takes this class once a month, maybe he does sort of a class, a sort of hybrid class. There's no reason why not. But at the moment, it's mainly online. And as long as Ajahn Barry is not in London, but in Spain, it's online for obvious reasons. But if ever, you know, there was a class teacher who was in London and was happy to have the class hybrid, because, well, I mean, I can't really speak for the Buddhist Society, but it's just common sense. Quite clearly, the more people who come to the class, the better. It's as simple as that. And one of the great things we've learned as a result of COVID and all that is that many more people, honestly, many more people come to all the classes at the Buddhist Society than they would if it was live and face to face. And the practicalities are like, you take a class like this now, 6:30, it's dark in London, it was dark in London, probably at 4:30, it's dark, it's cold, you know, people have been to work. Are they going to come to the Buddhist Society, you know, for an hour and a half? Well, you know, I mean, some will, but many more people, you know, would be much more comfortable coming to the class by Zoom. So, you know, if anybody asks my opinion about this, I would love to see real life teachers teaching face to face, but as long as it was also put out on Zoom simultaneously. There you go.
Mm. Yeah, I agree. And also, I mean, these, you know, over the years, this has been going on for 3 years now, just about 3 years, so I'm told. It's very valuable, but also often being with somebody in person can also be very valuable because, you know, for instance, I need to take this class to lead the class to point in a certain direction. I miss that human contact of talking directly to a person. I know, you know, there we are. I can see half of you, but it's you know, it's very valuable. And I mean, this has been fantastic, the Zoom meetings, but I do hope that the live groups continue as well. And as Colin says, if we can mix the two, have Zoom and a live class, that should be wonderful.
And I should add, by the way, that the the Buddhist Society has other meditation classes, well, other classes, but other meditation classes as well. For example, there are the lunchtime ones. And actually, often these lunchtime classes are face-to-face. And then at other times they're Zoom, at other times they're hybrid. So the society is obviously open to seeing what works. And somebody's just sent a little message through that that they miss, in-person classes. Yeah, that's great. That's great too. Any other comments or questions for Ajahn Barry? In view of what he's been saying about, we ought to take this with us. I was going to say this practice with us, but this with us. In my, we're coming up for a great time to take it with us. It's called Christmas. We were joking actually before the class began about, well, has he got a message for the class over the Christmas period? There's Christmas pudding and mince pies and all of that. My take on it is it's a great time for this practice of just, watching the way the mind works. And I mean, actually, remember, not getting too sniffy about Christmas. We don't have to get involved in all the materialism and getting all the rest of it. But it is a period of, peace on earth and goodwill to all people. And that's pretty good. As a paid-up Buddhist, I support those sorts of things, actually. And if people are happy, that's great. I just think it's a great time I think Christmas is a great time to be a Buddhist. There you go.
You used to call it Buddha Mass. Buddha Mass.
Well, that's right. You run it together.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's the festive season, and I think that's a very nice thing. And it's nice that people lighten up, hopefully, for a bit. But still, there is. Sorry to bore you, but there's really no reason why we cannot be aware, mindful while eating our mince pies or our Christmas puddings, or eating too much and feeling bloated. Feeling bloated is like this. It's the way it is. I'm not recommending that you become greedy, but if it happens, there you are.
Well, look, causes and conditions. It's gone 8 o'clock here, which means it's gone 9 o'clock in Spain.
Yeah.
I think we ought to wind things up. I really appreciate Ajahn Barry teaching the class tonight. He'll be back in the new year.
Leading.
Huh?
Leading.
I'm sorry. Leading the class in the new year. I want to thank Wongdo for managing the IT, and I want to wish him and his family a very happy Christmas.
Yes.
And I want to say happy Christmas, have a good time, look after yourselves, and see you, I hope, on, looking at my diary again, on January the 12th. Thank you.